Well, I hope you're having a great weekend. Before I get into my theory of why I think we're going to start to see some big snow out west, maybe some big changes and wild swings in the east, I want to show you the 6 to 10 day outlook that came out from the Climate Prediction Center. Above average temperatures. Listen, this is going to be the spring fever kickoff, okay? You're going to get really warm. It's going to be nice. Those of you waiting for a thaw, this is it. We're finally going to melt some of that snow and ice in the Northeast, although I would say that quite a bit of it has melted, especially in and around New York City, but even more is on the way. Something that I think is going to throw a wrench into maybe some of these plans, and this could lead to wilder swings, is the stratwarm that we're seeing high up into the stratosphere. This is happening, okay? So I think this is going to displace cold air that's up across the North Pole. It's going to do just like what we've seen in the winter. It's going to start to push it south into North America. Now, that hits different in March than it does in January. I think that could lead to more severe weather, possibly stronger mid-latitude cyclones, these big low-pressure areas that wrap up in March. Okay, so that's just a theory. Weather forecasting is literally, I would almost say it's really a hypothesis. It's best guess with the data that you got, right? But a little bit of a theory here, and I think one of the things we're seeing is the cold air moving into the west, and you got to think, all right, that is probably going to happen as we get this cold air coming out of the North Pole, and now you're going to look at maybe bigger storms that form and possibly, again, severe weather risks going up. So let's talk about that today. We're going to dig into what's going on in the upper levels first. Hope you're doing well on this Saturday as we're recording this. Some colder weather trying to make another shot at the Northeast as we head into Sunday. Otherwise, kind of quiet across the west. We're watching this system that's moving into the West Coast. It's going to bring some rain and some snow here, but this will be our severe weather maker. It doesn't look very powerful, and at this point, it's not a huge, long wave trough that's just going to plow through the country. However, I think you got to watch the southern side of this. You could have a jet streak, a piece of energy in the upper levels of the atmosphere, some fast-moving winds aloft. That could drive some severe weather as we head into really, at this point, it looks to be Wednesday out here into Oklahoma and Texas. Storm Prediction Center also watching this area. They've extended this down to parts of Arkansas, maybe even to Louisiana, and I would not be shocked if this gets expanded as we get closer in time. Still several days out from this weather event. Now, let's talk about what's ahead past this. A little bit of a long-range outlook. We kind of looked at that 8 to 14-day time frame with temperatures. Let's look at what's going on in the upper levels and maybe why they're looking that way with their outlook. A lot of warm weather in the east, okay? So you've got all your cold air generally locked up across the Arctic at this point. This upper low, this piece of energy, shortwave trough, it's almost cut off a little bit here. I would think there could even be more severe weather heading into Thursday further to the east. Still too early to tell here. I'll tell you one thing, it's going to be warm enough that could be on the table. A lot of energy in the atmosphere in the form of heat energy. We've got a strong now, what would be early March sun coming in. You're probably already feeling that here on February 28th. And now we start to see the changes across the west too. Lower heights coming in, the atmosphere literally thinner, so it's going to be colder. And we're opening some of that cold air up too with a little bit of northwest flow building in. And that could put some snow. I'm interested in what happens heading toward the 6th. Okay, I know this is really far out, but there's been a lot of consensus that something's going to happen here in the west, and my question will be, will this dig enough to give us a big storm that starts to move up the plains? Out ahead of this, I think we're going to get some really warm weather for eastern Canada, the eastern United States. This is a pattern that we've not seen in the Northeast in quite some time. So spring on the way, at least it's going to feel that way. And now you've got this huge trough digging into the southwest. This probably is going to put some big snow, I think, into Colorado, Utah, the Four Corners states with this type of setup. What does it do for the Sierra and the far west across the Cascades into the Pacific Northwest? Not much. You got a ridge building in here. And I think with this type of setup, you start to put the cold into the central Rockies. Big storms moving up like this across the central U.S., and now you're dumping the cold into the west, and you're putting a lot of snow possibly back here. You're not going to bring the snowpack up to where it needs to be this time of year, but boy, the models have been going berserk with some kind of big storms moving up through as we head into March. So more to come on that. Let's talk about what's a little more certain. That's a really long-range glance there, so it is what it is. If you're new to the channel, I'm Travis. I studied meteorology at Mississippi State. I worked in TV as a chief meteorologist. So if you're looking for a weather source, now as we enter what will be meteorological spring tomorrow, March 1st, and we start to turn our attention to severe weather. We're not done with the winter weather just yet, but come back and subscribe. We'll follow it together all the way into the summer, even on the boring days. Today, a beautiful boring day in the Northeast. We've got high pressure settling in, a little cold, a little crisp. we're watching this weak piece of energy that's starting to move east as we head into Sunday. It's going to bring a little bit of light snow early in the morning, but that high starts to build in, and then we get more quiet weather, I think, heading into Sunday. This will be interesting to watch, though. A little bit of precip across the Central Plains, some rain, maybe some snow on the northern side of this. Doesn't look like a lot by any stretch. Maybe some ice mixed in, but it doesn't take much ice to cause some problems. That's going to continue to work to the east. Across the west, relatively warm for this time of year. Still out here, some rain and some snow, not a huge deal. High pressure is still setting strong into the northeast as we head into Tuesday. This is a cold Arctic area of high pressure, so as the precip moves into this region, we're probably going to see some mixed bag of precipitation in the form of sleet, freezing rain, and some snow. Snow line pretty far to the north as we head into Tuesday. We're talking about all the way up into Minnesota. We could be warm enough for some rain, at least to start, and then it may actually mix with some sleet, freezing rain, and then possibly snow. Further north into Wisconsin, I think it's all snow here into northern Michigan. Southern Michigan, maybe a bit of a mess here. Okay, this is heading into Tuesday. You got this wedge down the East Coast, so ice could be a problem here to parts of the mid-Atlantic. The warm air surge is beginning, though. This is the transition. All right, now you're starting to see on the front end of this warm air, as the cold air gets scoured out, kind of a mess, but behind this, it's going to start to change. Your ridge starting to break down across the northwest. There comes the cold. There comes the snow at first. Snow levels dropping into the Pacific Northwest, and then that drives east. Now, again, heading into Wednesday, as this system moves across the country, this piece of energy out of the far southwest, it's going to bring a little bit of snow into Colorado. Let's watch this time frame. There could be some strong to severe thunderstorms here into the southeast. And then I think Thursday, it's still early, but watch the Ohio Valley, this region, there could be some strong storms too. It's still too early to really refine that. And then as we head into Friday, into Saturday, into next weekend, I think we're looking at a different setup starting to take shape. Now, what I think is going to be interesting is to watch this upper low across the far southwest. Does this indeed dig down all the way to the Mexican border? And now is this going to connect up with this huge shot of cold air that's going to really move into the west and then put some snow? And are we looking at a big storm? And I don't know. That's really far out. More to come on that. Let's talk about the snow. This is the official forecast from the National Weather Service through Tuesday. Light snow, though, on the front side of this with some mixed precip. This is what's happening today through tonight into tomorrow into the northeast. Look at the GFS. This has been a trend on the GFS for the last couple of days, and man, it's been busting. It's trying to show some heavier snow into Virginia, southwest Virginia, particularly into southern West Virginia. I just don't know about this with a heavier band on the northern side of it back to the west. Again, the forecast is much lighter. I'm probably in this camp too, especially considering the European is kind of there as well. And back to the west, here's your snow through Tuesday. Not looking as impressive. We start to put more down, though, by the late week, especially into the higher elevations. It starts in the northwest, into the Canadian Rockies, and then look what could happen heading into the weekend, into next week. This is what I'm talking about. I think there's some heavy snow on the way into the Rockies heading into next week as we start to see a major pattern shift. Major temperature changes, too, on the way. Look at these numbers across the east heading into today. All right, yeah, it's been warm, and it's going to stay warm tonight. Cooling down, though, into the parts of the Ohio Valley, back into the 40s and 30s. The northeast is going to be bitter cold heading into Monday morning. I mean, some of these areas in the parts of New England may make a run at below zero temperatures. I mean, even New York City possibly getting down into the single digits. I don't know that you're going to get to zero. It's always tough to get to zero in New York City, but if you're going to make a run at it, it'd be Monday morning. And then as we head into Monday afternoon, another cold day in the northeast. The warmth starts to surge north across the south, heading in Monday with 70s and even some 80s starting to work north. And now we're back up into the 60s for Cincinnati, Columbus, Indianapolis. That warm air trying to make a run further to the north. And by the time we get into Tuesday, you start to see the 50s and 60s pushing all the way up into Philly. Philly may hit 60 by the time we get to Thursday and Friday. But look how that cold tries to stick into parts of the northern northeast, especially into northern Maine. By the time we get into the next weekend, I think we're singing a different song now. We've got 50s and 60s all the way up into Vermont. So we've not seen this in a really long time. And look at the 80s in the low country of South Carolina, southern and middle Georgia, down into Florida, mid-80s. Boy, almost summer-like in these areas. Heading into tomorrow, it's going to turn much colder across Kansas. Man, we're back into the 30s after a warm day today. Texas hot again tomorrow. I can't remember where it was in southern Texas. 106 was the temperature the other day. Another hot day today, tomorrow. We start to see some cooling again across parts of the Kansas region up into Nebraska. But temperatures start to rebound heading into Monday. We're back up into the 50s and 60s. Further north, it stays cold, but it could be much colder. Minneapolis back up into the mid-40s, close to 50. So we'll start to see some spring-like weather on the way, too, as we head into Wednesday and Thursday. Look at South Dakota and North Dakota, mid-60s on the way, and we really surge that warm air north heading into Thursday. Again, this would also be the time we're watching for the severe weather risk across a lot of the central and southern plains, into parts of, I think, the Ohio Valley, southern Mississippi Valley, and also into the south. More to come on that. And a quick look across the west, where it's been really warm. Another warm day today. Phoenix probably hitting 90. There is some cold air on the way. We've talked about that. If you're just joining the live stream, take it back from the beginning. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you have a great weekend wherever you are, and see you next time.